Welcome to Monk's Temple. Close your eyes for a moment. Not to sleep, not yet. But to listen. To the space between your heartbeats. To the quiet hum that exists beneath the day's noise. You've been carrying a world on your shoulders, plans, regrets, the silent weight of what if. But here, in this space we share, you can set it down. Just for now. This is not about adding more to your mind. It is about remembering what has always been there, beneath the clutter. For thousands of years, the wisdom of Buddhism has taught not through complexity, but through profound simplicity. It points not to a distant heaven, but to the peace available in this very breath, in this very darkness. The Buddha himself sat beneath a tree, not to escape the world, but to see it, and himself, so clearly that freedom became inevitable. Tonight, we embark on a quiet journey together. A mental training, a rewiring of the spirit, disguised as rest. We will walk through ancient parables and new stories, each one a key to a different lock within you. As you drift into sleep, your subconscious mind, that fertile, receptive soil, will absorb these lessons. It will polish the mirror of your awareness, untie knots you've forgotten you carried, and plant seeds of clarity that will bloom with your awakening. This is not passive listening. This is active rest. Spiritual renewal in the guise of silence. So, ready your mind, open your heart just a crack, and trust the process. The most profound healing doesn't happen in the storm. It happens in the eye of it. In the stillness you are about to enter. Let's begin our first story. In a forgotten alcove of the Himalayas, there lived an old woman known only as Anicca. She was a weaver, but she produced no cloth to sell in the markets. Her loom stood under the open sky in a small stone courtyard, and for hours each day, she would sit before it, her hands moving in slow, deliberate rhythms. Villagers would sometimes peek over the wall, curious. They saw her place threads upon the warp, vibrant crimson, deep indigo, the gold of sunset, the gray of morning mist. But they never saw a pattern emerge. The threads crossed and mingled, but no image of a bird, a mountain, or a sacred symbol ever formed. It looked like beautiful chaos. A young, frustrated scholar once visited her. "Mother," he said, "I have studied the great sutras. I understand the teachings of dependent origination, of cause and effect. Your loom seems to follow no such law. It is random. What is the meaning of your work?" Anicca didn't look up. Her shuttle moved back and forth. Asterisk click-clack. Click-clack, asterisk. "Come closer," she said softly. He did. "What do you see?" she asked. "I see threads. Colors crossing without purpose." "Look not at the crossing," she whispered. "Look at the spaces between the threads." The scholar squinted, shifting his gaze. And then he saw it. The loom was positioned so that the vast, infinite sky was the backdrop. The threads did not create a picture on the loom, they framed unique, fleeting windows through it. A crimson thread would pass, and for a moment, it would hold a passing cloud, turning it pink with fire. A gray thread would capture a slice of distant, snow-capped peak. The indigo would frame a single, early star. The tapestry was not the threads. The tapestry was the ever-changing, boundless sky seen through the temporary, beautiful obstructions. The woman spoke, her voice like wind over stone. "Your mind, dear seeker, is this loom. Your thoughts, your memories, your joys and fears, these are the threads. You spend your life trying to arrange them into a fixed picture called my life, and you grow frustrated when the picture makes no sense, when a thread of sorrow cuts across a thread of joy. But you are not the picture. You are the sky that holds it all. The threads will shift and change. Some will snap. New ones will appear. But the sky remains, clear, vast, and untouched. Your peace lies not in controlling the threads, but in remembering you are the space that watches them dance. The scholar sat with her in silence until dusk, watching the sky tapestry transform with the dying light. When he left, he carried a stillness he had not found in any book. He had learned the Buddhist truth of Śūnyatā, often translated as emptiness, but meaning the open, dependent, luminous nature of all things. Nothing exists in isolation, and our true nature is that open, aware space in which the world appears. If this teaching resonates with you, if you wish to continue this journey of inner rewiring, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. It is your sanctuary, and each new story is a step deeper into your own peace. Now, let that image of the sky tapestry rest in your mind as we move to our next lesson. There is a river near my old teacher's hermitage. In the spring, it is a roaring, furious thing, fed by melting snows. It carves its will into the stone, tosses giant boulders as if they were pebbles, and its sound drowns out all thought. If you stood on its bank, you would feel its power vibrate in your chest. You might think, this is strength. This is unstoppable force. But return in the late autumn. The rains have ceased. The mountain springs sleep. What remains is a whisper. A trickle of clear water over smooth, polished stones. And now you can see the riverbed, revealed for the first time in months. It is not dead. It is profoundly alive. You see the grooves and channels carved by the spring's fury, the permanent record of the water's passage. You see stones rounded by a patience that outlasts rage. You see deep, still pools that mirror the bare branches above perfectly. The river's true work was not done in its loudest, most impressive moment. Its true shaping of the landscape, its creation of those mirror-still pools, happened in the quiet aftermath. It was the patient, persistent flow, the gentle wearing away over centuries, that created the profound depth. Your mind is like this. You believe your breakthroughs, your moments of transformation, must be like the spring flood, dramatic, powerful, sweeping everything old away in a roar. You grow discouraged when your meditation is a trickle, when your patience feels thin, when you seem to be making no progress. But Buddhism teaches Śūnyatā. Patience, forbearance, the willingness to endure. The Buddha sat for 6 years before his awakening. Not in a single, blinding flash, but in a slow, steady deepening. The real rewiring of your spirit, the polishing of your inner mirror, happens in these quiet stretches. In the daily return to the breath. In the gentle observing of a thought without grabbing it. This is the autumn flow. It is carving depths in you that no emotional spring flood ever could. It is creating pools of stillness that will perfectly reflect clarity when the time is right. Tonight, as you lie there, feel yourself not as the roaring water, but as the patient riverbed. Let the flow of your breath be gentle. Trust that this quietness is not stagnation. It is sacred work. You are being shaped, smoothed, and deepened. Rest in that trust. My first winter at the monastery was harsh. The wind howled through the pine valleys, and the cold seeped into the stone walls. We were each given a simple brass lantern. One evening, during a deep meditation sit, a novice across from me grew frustrated. His lantern had gone out. The wick was spent. In the pitch dark of the hall, he fumbled, anxious, trying to relight it from a neighbor's flame. His rustling and anxious breath became a distraction. The abbot, who was sitting perfectly still, spoke without opening his eyes. "Śūnyatā." The novice stopped. "Yes, teacher." "Why do you search for a light you have never lost?" Confused, the novice replied, "My lantern is dark, Rashi." "Is it?" the abbot said. "Or have you simply forgotten what a lantern is?" The next day, the abbot took the novice, and all of us, to a storehouse. He showed us rows of lanterns, some old and tarnished, some new and shiny. "What is the purpose of these?" he asked. "To hold light," we said. "To hold it," he repeated. "Not to be it. The flame is borrowed from fire. The oil is borrowed from the earth. The brass is borrowed from the mountain. The lantern is an assembly, a temporary holder. When the flame goes out, does the lantern cease to exist? No. Its true nature, its lanternness, is most clear when it is empty, ready to receive." He then pointed to the sun pouring through the window. "That is the true flame. It lights 10,000 lanterns without ever being contained by a single one. Your mind is the lantern. Your awareness, pure, knowing, silent, is the sunlight. You worry when thoughts, the little flames, sputter out. You panic when emotions, the oil, run low. But you are not the fleeting contents. You are the vessel that can hold it all, and the awareness that knows both fullness and emptiness. In Buddhism, we call this inherent awareness Buddha nature. It is never absent, even in the darkest night. Tonight, imagine your mind as that empty, polished lantern. Don't try to fill it with bright thoughts or positive feelings. Simply let it be empty, receptive. The light of your own awareness is already shining upon it. You are both the holder and the boundless light. Rest in that wholeness. In a valley known for its mists, there was a narrow gorge. On one side was a village of fear, where people planned for every disaster. On the other was a meadow of peace, where children laughed without reason. A simple rope bridge spanned the gap. But this bridge was strange. It was strung with hundreds of small, hollow stones, like wind chimes, but made of ancient, resonant rock. When anyone stepped onto the bridge with fear in their heart, clutching the ropes, looking down at the dizzying drop, their fearful, tense steps would cause the stones to clatter together in a discordant, jarring racket. The sound would intensify their fear, and many would turn back, convinced the bridge itself was screaming at them to stop. But when someone approached with a trusting heart, stepping lightly, not fighting the gentle sway, their footsteps would create a different effect. The stones would sing. They would chime in soft, harmonic frequencies, a celestial music that seemed to lift the walker, making them feel lighter, guiding them across with joy. A warrior, brave in battle but terrified of the bridge's song, once asked a sage how to cross. The sage said, "The bridge does not react to your weight, but to your resistance. Fear is a form of clinging, you cling to the solid rock behind you, afraid of the emptiness below. Your clinging creates tension. Your tension creates noise. To cross, you must practice Upekkhā, equanimity. Step onto the bridge acknowledging the gorge, but do not cling to the safety of one side or the fear of the fall. Find the balance in the middle. The emptiness is not your enemy. It is what allows the bridge to exist. The warrior tried. He took a step, acknowledged his fear, and then relaxed his grip, both physically and mentally. The stones let out a soft, single tone. Encouraged, he took another, focusing on balance, not control. A melody began. By the time he reached the middle, he was walking in time with a beautiful, spontaneous hymn. He was not conquering the bridge, he was in harmony with it. He crossed not as a victor, but as a note in a song. Your life is this bridge. Your anxieties are the tense, clutching steps that create mental noise and suffering. The Buddhist practice of the middle way, avoiding extremes of clinging and aversion, is the art of balanced walking. When you face a worry tonight, don't clutch it or try to push it away. Acknowledge it. Feel the rope of your breath in your hands. Then take a mental step of surrender. Find the balance. The emptiness you fear, of not knowing, not controlling, is what allows the music of peace to arise. Let your thoughts tonight be like singing stones, not clattering fears. Let the melody of equanimity carry you to sleep. There was a master potter renowned for bowls of perfect symmetry and glazes that held the colors of the twilight sky. Students would travel far to learn his secrets. He would teach them the wheel, the clay, the fire. But his final test was always the same. He would have a student throw a bowl. Just as it was nearing perfect shape, when the curve was exquisite and the rim even, the master would reach out and with a gentle finger, press a deliberate flaw into the soft clay. A dent. A slight warp. Many students would gasp, some would even cry out, seeing hours of work ruined. The master would say, "Now, finish it." The students, heartsick, would try to correct the flaw, to recenter the warp, often making the bowl weaker, the shape forced and tense. The master would shake his head. "You are fighting the truth of the bowl," he'd say. "The flaw is not a mistake. It is now part of its nature. Your task is not to return it to an imaginary perfect past. Your task is to glaze it, fire it, and honor its complete story, including the warp." He would take the bowl and, with supreme care, apply glaze. In the kiln, something magical happened. The warp would catch the glaze differently. It would create a unique cascade of color, a depth and pattern that a perfect bowl could never achieve. The finished piece was always more beautiful, more alive, more itself because of the incorporated flaw. This is the Buddhist teaching of theta, suchness, or thusness. It is the profound acceptance of things as they are, not as we wish them to be. We spend our lives trying to recenter the warp, to hide the dents of our past failures, our heartbreaks, our perceived inadequacies. We believe our worth depends on presenting a perfectly symmetrical vessel to the world. But the Buddha taught that suffering arises from craving for things to be different, ****. Freedom arises when we cease the fight. Your flaws, your past pains, the dents in your spirit, they are not mistakes to be erased. They are part of your unique grain. When you stop fighting them and instead bring the warm, accepting light of your awareness to them, they transform. They become the very features that give your compassion its depth, your wisdom its resonance. Tonight, think of one small flaw you carry, a regret, an insecurity. Instead of pushing it away, imagine gently placing your awareness around it, like the potter's glaze. Say to yourself, this, too, is part of my story. Then let it be. Fire it in the kiln of your sleep. You may wake to find it has become a source of unexpected strength. In a walled garden that saw only the moon, nothing green ever grew. The soil was rich, water was given, but no gardener could coax a single blossom from the earth. They called it the Garden of Shadows, and it was said to be cursed. A young woman named Leora, who felt a similar barrenness in her own heart, sought permission to tend it, not to fix it, but to understand. She did not bring new seeds or special fertilizers. Each evening, she simply went and sat in the garden. She raked the gravel paths. She listened. Weeks passed. One night, under a full moon, she realized the truth. It was not a garden for daylight flowers. It was a garden for moonlight. The plants here did not bloom with color, they bloomed with silver, with fragrance only released in darkness. She began planting accordingly, night-blooming jasmine, moonflowers, silver dust plants, white lilies. She cultivated mushrooms that glowed with a soft bioluminescence. The garden, when seen at noon, was a study in grays and greens. But at midnight, it was a revelation, a luminous, fragrant, silver paradise. The curse was simply a misunderstanding of its nature. We do this to ourselves. We judge our inner landscape in the harsh noon light of productivity, social comparison, and relentless optimism. We see shadows and call them failures. We feel quietness and call it laziness. We miss the subtle, silver blooms that only appear in the darkness of rest, introspection, and solitude. Buddhism encourages right view, seeing clearly, without the distortion of our prejudices. Perhaps your sadness is not a weed, but a night-blooming flower with a poignant perfume that teaches you empathy. Perhaps your anxiety is not a curse, but a glowing mushroom, illuminating a path you need to tread carefully. Your value does not only shine in the daylight of achievement. It has a nocturnal beauty, a depth that can only be perceived when you stop fighting the dark and learn to see in its light. As you drift off, imagine your own heart as the garden of shadows. Don't judge what grows there by daylight standards. Let the moonlight of your gentle attention fall upon it. Notice the silver, the fragrance, the soft glow of qualities that only exist because of your unique terrain. Tend it with kindness, not with a wish for it to be a different garden altogether. It is said that at the summit of the mythical Mount Meru, center of the Buddhist cosmos, there hangs a bell made of frozen starlight. It has no clapper. No wind blows so high to stir it. It is absolute, perfect stillness in the form of a bell. Pilgrims who somehow reach the summit are told to listen for its sound. They strain their ears, pressing them against the cold, translucent surface. They hear nothing but the roar of their own blood, the howl of their own thoughts. Many descend in disappointment, thinking the legend a lie. But a few understand. They sit. They let their own internal noise settle. And in that vast, silent openness, they begin to feel the vibration. Not a sound heard by the ear, but a resonance felt by the entire being, the fundamental frequency of existence itself, the nada of unconditional peace. The bell was never meant to be heard. It was meant to be resonated with. You must become silent enough to feel its silent song. This is a metaphor for meditation, for samadhi, deep, concentrated stillness. We sit to meditate, and we listen for peace, for insight, for a sound. We get frustrated by the noise of our thoughts. But the peace we seek is not an audible answer. It is a state of being, a fundamental resonance that is always present. Our mental noise drowns it out. The practice is not to create silence, but to settle the layers of turbulence so that the inherent, silent vibration of awareness can be felt. Tonight, don't try to make your mind silent. That's like trying to force the bell to ring. Instead, imagine your skull as that bell of frozen starlight. Let your thoughts and sensations be the wind that sometimes stirs. Don't fight the wind. Just feel the solid, still, resonant structure beneath it, your own aware presence. Feel for the hum beneath the noise. That is your connection to everything. Sleep is a form of settling. Allow yourself to resonate with the deep peace that is already there. I remember a long, difficult winter in my early practice. A period of what felt like profound dryness. Meditation felt empty, prayer felt rote. I confessed this sense of barrenness to my teacher. He simply handed me a dry, wrinkled walnut from his bowl. "What is this?" he asked. "An old walnut," I said. "Can you see the tree inside it?" he asked. "No," I replied, confused. "Yet it is there," he said. "The potential is not in the green leaf or the sweet fruit you can see. It is locked inside this hard, dry, seemingly dead shell. Your practice now is not the leafy summer. It is the walnut winter. It does not mean the tree is gone. It means the life force has withdrawn to its essence, to its core, to wait. Stop looking for leaves. Honor the shell. Crack it open in its own time, and you will find the nourishment." That walnut stayed on my altar for years. It taught me more about faith and patience than any scripture. Your difficult periods are not failures. They are walnut winters. The growth is happening at the densest, most essential level. Trust the shell. In a city of endless noise, there lived an old man in a small, dusty archive. His job was obsolete, he was the keeper of lost names. Not of people, but of the specific, forgotten names for things. The name for the precise blue of the sky moments before dawn. The name for the silence between two heartbeats. The name for the feeling of warm stone after the sun has set. The world had grown too busy for such specifics, reducing everything to generic labels. A woman overwhelmed by the generic nature of her life, her job, her anxiety, her relationships, found his archive. She asked, "What is the use of keeping names no one calls?" The old man replied, "When you lose the specific name, you lose the specific reality. You see only tree, and so you miss the whispering pine or the dancing birch. You feel only sad, and so you miss the aching sweet nostalgia for a home you never had, or the clean sorrow of autumn rain. You live in a world of outlines, not colors." He gave her a task, to walk home and find one thing, just one, and give it a true, specific name. Not a label, but a name from her soul. She walked slowly. She saw a crack in the pavement where a tiny, defiant weed grew. She stopped. The name came, Stone Breath. In that moment, the crack was no longer a flaw. It was a living being, breathing through stone. Her perception shifted. Buddhist mindfulness, *sati*, is precisely this, the clear, specific knowing of the present phenomenon. It's not vague awareness. It's noticing the exact texture of the breath, cool here, warm there. It's feeling the precise quality of an emotion without bundling it into good or bad. It is reclaiming the lost names for your own experience. When you name your fatigue as the heavy cloak of yesterday's effort, it becomes something you can acknowledge and perhaps gently remove, rather than a vague, oppressive cloud. Tonight, as you lie in bed, practice this. Don't just feel tired. Investigate. Is it a liquid heaviness in the bones? A soft fog behind the eyes? Give it a gentle, specific, non-judgmental name. Then move to a sound. Not just noise, but the distant hum of the world sleeping. By reclaiming the specifics, you reclaim your life from the generic blur. You become present. And presence is the doorstep to peace. There was a clockmaker so skilled he could build timepieces that measured the flutter of a hummingbird's wing. His life was a tapestry of gears, ticks, and precise appointments. He believed the universe was the ultimate clock, and if he could just understand its mechanics, he would master life itself. His own heart, however, beat with an irregular, anxious rhythm he could not fix. One day, a wandering monk entered his shop, drawn by the symphony of ticks. The clockmaker, proud, showed him his masterpiece, a clock that displayed not only hours and seconds, but phases of the moon, seasons, and astrological cycles. It maps reality itself, he proclaimed. The monk watched it for a long moment. It maps movement, he corrected gently. But where is the spring? Inside, of course, said the clockmaker, tapping the case. No, said the monk. The true spring is not inside the clock. The true spring is the reason the clockmaker's hands wounded in the first place. The will. The life. The awareness that set it all in motion. You are so busy studying the gears of your thoughts and emotions that you have forgotten the hand that wins them. The silent, aware space behind it all. The clockmaker was stunned. He had spent his life analyzing the mechanism, never the mechanic. The monk continued, the Buddha did not teach us to become better clockmakers of our minds. He taught us to discover the timeless spring within, the Dharmakaya, the boundless ground of being that is beyond all ticks and tocks. Your anxiety is a gear you've overoiled. Step back. Find the winder. Find the stillness that permits motion. That night, the clockmaker didn't work. He sat in his silent shop, surrounded by frozen time. He listened past the remembered ticks, into the silence they emerged from. For the first time, he felt the infinite spring, his own conscious presence, that was prior to all mechanisms. His heart's irregular beat didn't change, but his relationship to it did. It was just a small, interesting sound in a vast, still room. You analyze your life constantly. Your plans are gears, your worries are misaligned cogs. You try to fix the clockwork. Tonight, let it all wind down. Feel for the hand that holds the key. Feel for the aware, silent you that exists before thought, before emotion. That is your infinite spring. It cannot be broken. Rest there. Most think of mountains as the very symbol of solidity, immovability. But the monks of a certain order spoke of the mountain that breathed. It was not a metaphor. In a secluded range, there was a peak with a vast, hidden inner cavern. The geology was such that changes in atmospheric pressure, with the rising and setting of the sun, caused the entire mountain to exhale a gentle, warm sigh from its caves at dawn, and inhale a cool whisper at dusk. The locals felt it as a soft breeze that always came and went with perfect, peaceful rhythm. A general, made rigid by a lifetime of command and control, came to the region to conquer his insomnia. He heard the legend and scoffed. A mountain is stone. It does not breathe. He camped at its base to prove it. At dawn, wrapped in his blanket of tension, he felt it, a palpable, warm exhalation from the rock itself, smelling of deep earth and moss. It was not a wind. It was the mountain. His certainty cracked. He spent days there, feeling the inhale and exhale of the stone giant. He realized his own rigidity was a kind of death. He had been a statue of a man, holding a single form, a single command. The mountain was infinitely stronger than he, yet it was alive, flexible in its very essence, participating in the cosmic rhythm. Strength was not in resistance, but in resonant, rhythmic participation with the universe. This is the Buddha's teaching on Anicca, impermanence. We see it as a threat, things fall apart. But seen deeply, it is the very principle of life. It is the breath of the cosmos. Your body breathes. Your thoughts rise and fall. Your circumstances change. Fighting this flow is what creates suffering, the general's insomnia. Embracing it, finding your own rhythm within the great inhale and exhale of existence, is freedom. Feel your body against the mattress. Feel the natural, effortless rise and fall of your chest. You are already participating in the rhythm. Now imagine that rhythm expanding. Imagine the room breathing with you. The house. The city. The planet. Like the mountain that breathed, you are not a solid, separate statue. You are part of a living, rhythmic, breathing universe. Align with that exhale. Let go. Align with the inhale. Receive. Sleep is your dusk inhale. Let it come. On a rugged coast, there is a tide pool hidden in a granite bowl. It is only accessible at low tide. For most of the day, the raging ocean crashes against the cliffs around it, but the pool itself is still. It is a perfect mirror, reflecting the sky with such clarity that birds have been known to dive into it, thinking it is the heavens. But the pool's perfection is temporary. The tide returns. Waves crash over the rim, churning the water, filling it with sand and seaweed, destroying the reflection. For hours, it is a chaotic, murky swirl. Then the tide recedes again. The turbulence settles. The sand sinks. And once more, the pool becomes a flawless mirror, as if the chaos never was. We are like this. We believe our goal is to become the permanently still tide pool, forever reflecting the sky, safe behind a wall of rock. We despair when the high tide of life crashes in, stress, loss, conflict, turning our peace into chaos. We think we have lost our clarity forever. But the Buddha's wisdom shows us the nature of samsara, the cyclical, tidal nature of conditioned existence. The pool's nature is not either stillness or chaos. Its nature is to experience both, cyclically, without losing its essential capacity to reflect. The clarity is not destroyed, it is temporarily obscured. Your peace is not gone when you are overwhelmed. It is simply waiting for the turbulence to settle. You don't need to fight the tide. You need to understand its rhythm. The tide will always come. And it will always go. Your practice is not to build a higher wall, but to learn the patience of the granite bowl, to trust that your reflective nature is intrinsic and will reassert itself when conditions allow. Are you in a high tide phase? Feel the churn without believing you are the churn. You are the bowl that holds it. Trust the tide will recede. Are you in a still, low tide phase? Cherish the reflection. But don't cling to it, fearing the next wave. Rest in the knowing that both are part of the beautiful, natural cycle of your life. In the heart of a vast library, there was a wing no one visited. It contained books written in an ink that only became visible in complete darkness. In the light, the pages appeared blank. Scholars, needing light to read, would open them, see nothing, and dismiss them as empty, pushing them aside for the brightly illuminated texts. A blind librarian tended this wing. He could not see the light-filled books, but he knew the dark ink ones. Patrons would pity him. "You cannot read any of these," they'd say. He would smile. "Can you read in the dark?" he'd reply. "No one can read in the dark," they'd laugh. "Precisely," he'd say. "You assume reading requires your kind of light." One night, a power outage plunged the entire library into darkness. Panic ensued. The scholars, plunged into blackness, were helpless. But the blind librarian moved calmly. He lit a single candle, not for himself, but for them. Then he went to the dark ink wing, selected a volume, and began to read by running his fingers over the now visible, glowing script. He recited poetry of stunning beauty, poetry about the inner stars, the sound of shadows, the taste of silence. The scholars, sitting in the dark, listened. For the first time, they were receiving wisdom that could only be transmitted when their usual light of intellect, analysis, and external seeking had failed. The Buddha often taught in paradoxes for this reason. The ultimate truth, *paramatha sakha*, cannot be grasped by the conceptual, dualistic mind, the mind that needs light. It can only be directly realized when that mind becomes still, when we are willing to sit in the dark of not knowing, of pure experience. Our obsession with figuring everything out, with analyzing our feelings, is the scholar trying to read a dark ink book under a lamp. It will never work. Sleep is your nightly power outage. The lights of daily cognition go out. In that darkness, the subtle, glowing script of your deeper wisdom can be perceived. The subconscious understands the language of metaphor, symbol, and direct knowing. That's why you often wake with clarity you didn't have before bed. You've been visiting the wing of unread books. Tonight, as you enter the darkness, don't fear it. Don't try to turn on the mental flashlight. Let the power stay out. Trust that in this sacred dark, your inner blind librarian is at work, gathering poems of healing and insight that will be whispered to you by dawn. A young blacksmith was passionate but impatient. He believed the key to a strong sword was in the fiercest fire and the hardest strike. He would heat the steel until it was white-hot, then beat it relentlessly on the anvil, often cracking the metal in his zeal. His master watched quietly. One day, the master took over. He heated the metal to a bright orange, not white. He struck it, yes, but with measured, rhythmic blows. Then, instead of continuing to beat it, he did something the apprentice often skipped. he plunged it into the oil bath. There was a fierce sizzle, a cloud of steam. The metal screamed, but emerged harder, tempered. The fire shapes it, the master said. But the cooling determines its strength. You are so in love with the strike you forget the surrender to the oil. Without that surrender, the blade is brittle. It will shatter in battle. Our minds are the same. We think growth and strength come only from the fire of effort, the hammer blows of discipline, the heat of striving. We push, we force, we beat ourselves into shape. And we often crack under the pressure. Buddhism teaches the vital importance of samatha, calm abiding, restorative stillness. It is the oil bath. The effort, fire, and wisdom, strike, must be balanced with deep, surrendering rest, cooling. This rest is not laziness. It is the process that tempers the insights, that transforms hot, brittle willpower into a flexible, resilient strength that can hold an edge. Your sleep is not a departure from your spiritual work. It is the essential, tempering oil bath. The day's heat, the strikes of experience, are being cooled and set into a stronger form within you. Don't undervalue this surrender. Embrace the sizzle of release as you plunge into the depths of rest. You are not being lazy. You are being tempered. At the entrance to a legendary city of peace stood a gate. It was not imposing. It was simple, made of a polished, dark stone. Travelers would approach, seeking entry. Above the gate was an inscription. To enter, you must bring your true self. People would arrive with bundles, bags of achievements, masks of personalities, shields of wit, cloaks of sorrow. They would present these at the gate, saying, "This is me. These are my accomplishments, my wounds, my stories." The gate would remain shut. Frustrated, many would turn away. But a few, exhausted from carrying their bundles, would finally set them down. They would sit before the gate, empty-handed, not knowing what else to do. In their stillness, they would look up. They would see their own reflection in the dark stone, not adorned with their bundles, but simply as a tired, honest human face. And as they gazed at that reflection, the gate would swing open silently. They would realize the gate had never been locked. It was a mirror. The only requirement for entry was to see oneself clearly, without the props. The Buddha taught, Atta hayatano natho, one is one's own refuge. The peace you seek is not behind a locked gate in a distant city. It is on the other side of self-honesty. We stand before our own hearts carrying our bundles of who we think we are, and wonder why the door to peace won't open. We must set down the narratives, both the grand and the tragic. We must have the courage to see the bare, unadorned awareness staring back at us. That awareness is your true self. And it is already home. The gate opens the moment you recognize it. Tonight, before sleep, set your bundles down. The story of today. The hope for tomorrow. The regret of yesterday. Just for now. Look into the dark mirror of your own pre-sleep consciousness. Who is there when the costumes are off? Not a name, not a role. Just awareness. Rest as that. The gate is already open. You are already inside. Personal anecdote. In the monastery, we had a daily chore, sweeping the endless stone courtyards. I hated it. It felt menial, pointless. The dust would just return tomorrow. I grumbled internally, rushing through it to get to the important meditation. One day, the sweeping master, yes, we had one, saw my haste. He took the broom from me. With a slow, mindful movement, he made a single, perfect arc, gathering a line of dust and a single fallen leaf. He paused. This arc, he said, contains the entire courtyard. If you sweep this one arc with complete attention, you have swept the universe. The dust returns. Good. So does the breath. It is not about a clean courtyard. It is about the sweeper. From then on, sweeping became my deepest meditation. It taught me karma, action with intention. Every mindful action, no matter how small, rewires the mind. Brushing your teeth, washing a cup, tying your shoes. Do it with the attention of that single arc of the broom, and you are not just cleaning teeth, you are polishing the mirror of your mind. Tonight, let your breath be that broom. Make each inhale and exhale a single, perfect, mindful arc. You are not just breathing. You are sweeping the universe of your consciousness clean. A fisherman wove his own nets. He prided himself on their tight, fine weave, capable of catching the smallest silver-side fish. Yet, he noticed he was always tired, and his catch, while numerous, was only ever small fish. One day, he watched an old fisherman from a neighboring village, who used a net with large, deliberate holes. This old man seemed peaceful, and his catch, while less frequent, was only large, mature fish. The young fisherman asked for his secret. The old man said, "Your net catches everything. You spend all your energy hauling in 1,000 little worries, little distractions, little desires. You are exhausted by the weight of the insignificant. My net has holes. It lets the small things pass through. It only holds what is truly substantial, what has grown to a certain size. I wait longer. I catch less. But what I catch nourishes deeply." The Buddha taught about the middle way between indulgence and asceticism, but also about wise attention. Our attention is our net. We often cast a fine mesh net into the sea of our thoughts and sensations, catching every fleeting worry, every trivial irritation, every passing desire. We then drag this heavy, burdensome catch with us, wondering why we are so fatigued. Mindfulness is about weaving holes into your net of attention. Learning to let the small, fleeting thoughts pass through without catching on them. Noticing the big, recurring patterns, the deep fears, the core longings, and bringing compassionate attention to those. It's about selectivity. You don't have to attend to every mental weather pattern. Let the drizzles of annoyance pass. Wait for the true storms or the clear skies to engage your deep awareness. As thoughts arise before sleep, imagine them as fish in the dark sea of your mind. See the small, silvery, frantic ones. Did I send that email? What will I wear tomorrow? Let them swim right through the holes in your net. Don't haul them in. Wait. Be patient. Is there a larger, slower, deeper shape? A core feeling of loneliness? A fundamental hope? That is the one to gently hold in the spacious net of your awareness. Tend to that. The rest can go. Two painters arrived at the edge of a vast, majestic canyon at the same hour. The first set up his easel with haste. He began to paint frantically, trying to capture the exact shade of the red rock at noon, the precise shape of the shadow there, the specific cloud here. He mixed colors, swore, scraped the canvas, started again. The light changed. His painting became a battle against time, a tense record of his struggle. The second painter sat on a rock for the entire first day. He just looked. He didn't touch his brushes. The next morning, he did the same. On the third day, at dawn, he quietly set up his easel. With a few, simple, confident strokes, he captured not the canyon's details, but its essence, its grandeur, its stillness, its age. It was unmistakably the canyon, yet it was not a photograph. It was the canyon's soul on canvas. The first painter saw his work and was amazed. "How did you do that so quickly, so simply?" The second painter replied, "I was not painting the canyon. I was letting the canyon paint itself through me. The first 2 days were for becoming empty, so I could be a clear vessel for its spirit. You were painting at the canyon. I was listening to it." This is the difference between doing and being in spiritual practice. We often approach meditation, prayer, or self-improvement like the first painter, with an agenda, a goal, a frantic effort to capture a certain feeling, peace, bliss, and fix it to the canvas of our minds. We fight against the changing light of our moods. The result is strained and unsatisfying. The deeper practice, as in Zen Buddhism, is to first become empty. To sit, ****, with no goal but to sit. To listen. To let the mind's canyon reveal its essence to you. The insight, the peace, the clarity, they are not things you aggressively capture. They arise when you stop trying to paint and instead become the blank, receptive canvas. Your true nature then paints itself through you. Your sleep is the ultimate act of becoming the canvas. You are not doing anything. You are surrendering to a deeper intelligence, the intelligence of the body that heals, the mind that consolidates, the spirit that restores. Don't try to achieve deep sleep or profound dreams. Simply be the empty canvas. Let the universe paint its restorative wisdom upon you tonight. In a temple, instead of a statue of the Buddha, there sat an empty throne. It was carved from sandalwood, draped in saffron silk. Pilgrims would come, expecting an icon, and be confused. "Where is the Buddha?" they'd ask the guardian monk. He would answer, "Where is he not?" Some would get angry. "We came for blessings from the Buddha." The monk would gesture to the throne. The Buddha is not a person trapped in history. The Buddha is a potential within you. The empty throne is not a lack. It is an invitation. It invites you to see that the wisdom, the compassion, the awakening, they are not out there. They are in the space that is ready to be filled by your own enlightened nature. The throne awaits you. Over time, the most sincere pilgrims would understand. They would sit before the empty throne, and in its very emptiness, they would feel a profound presence. Not of an external deity, but of the limitless possibility of their own hearts. The throne's emptiness reflected their own inner space, their Buddha nature, which is not a thing, but a capacity for awakening. We look for external saviors, gurus, solutions. We want a statue to pray to. The radical, profound teaching of Buddhism is that the teacher, the awakened one, is ultimately a mirror of your own potential. The historical Buddha said, "Be a lamp unto yourselves." The empty throne is that lamp. It shines by virtue of what it is not, revealing what you truly are. Feel the empty throne within your own chest. Not a physical emptiness, but a spacious, aware, peaceful potential. Don't rush to fill it with idols of self-judgment or borrowed beliefs. Let it be empty. In that sacred emptiness, your own innate wisdom sits. You are both the guardian of the throne and the one who may rightfully sit upon it. Rest in that sovereign silence. There was a lighthouse, beautifully constructed with a powerful beam, but it stood on a hill far inland, miles from any sea. The townspeople found it absurd. "What use is a lighthouse with no ocean?" they laughed. The keeper, an old woman, would climb the stairs each night and light the lamp regardless. She would polish the lenses with care. A traveler, lost in a metaphorical sense, wandering through a dark period of life, stumbled into the town at night. He saw the beam sweeping over the hills, over the forests, over the fields. It was guiding no ships, but it was illuminating the landscape in a breathtaking way. It revealed the silver tracks of foxes, the silent glide of owls, the dew beginning to form on spiderwebs. It painted the world in strokes of mystery and beauty. He found the keeper. "Why do you tend a useless light?" he asked, not unkindly. She replied, "Who said a light must only be for those lost at sea? There are many kinds of darkness. Many kinds of being lost. My light may not guide a ship to port, but tonight, did it not guide your eyes to see the fox's path? Did it not make the ordinary world extraordinary? Its purpose is not defined by an ocean. Its purpose is to shine. That is enough." We often dismiss our inner qualities because they don't seem to serve a practical, worldly purpose in the ocean of ambition and productivity. Your sensitivity, your quiet love of beauty, your contemplative nature, your compassion that feels too big for this world, you may think, "What use is this lighthouse when I am not near any sea of great achievement?" But the Buddha taught right livelihood, living in accordance with your true nature. Your light has its own jurisdiction. It may not guide corporate ships, but it might illuminate a path through a friend's dark night. It might reveal hidden beauty in a mundane moment, saving you from despair. Its purpose is to shine, because it is a light. That is its inherent worth. Tend your light, polish its lenses, even if no ocean is in sight. Someone, perhaps just you, is wandering in the inland darkness, and your beam is the only thing keeping them from being completely lost. Tonight, identify one useless, beautiful thing about yourself, your lighthouse quality. Honor it. Shine it gently across the landscape of your own heart. See what hidden beauty it reveals in the forgotten corners of your spirit. A great musician played a lute with strings of spun silver. His music could make emperors weep. One evening, during a performance before a silent hall, under the tension of a powerful chord, his highest string snapped with a sharp twang. The sound was jarring, a fracture in the beauty. The musician did not stop. He did not flinch. He subtly adjusted his fingers and continued the composition, weaving the sudden, resonant dissonance of the snapped string into the melody. The note that was no longer there became a ghost note, an absence that gave depth to the presence of the others. The music that followed was different, more poignant, more real, more heartbreakingly beautiful, because it incorporated the break. The audience later said it was the most profound performance he had ever given. Life will snap your strings. A plan will break. A heart will fracture. A hope will dissolve with a jarring twang. The instinct is to stop the music. To declare the performance ruined. To focus only on the broken thing. The Buddha's teaching on dukkha, suffering, is not that life is suffering, but that life contains suffering, and our resistance to the snapped strings is what causes most of our pain. The path is not to have an instrument that never breaks. It is to become the musician who can incorporate the break into the ongoing song. To adjust your fingering on the remaining strings of your resilience, your love, your courage. The silence where the string once sang becomes a part of your wisdom. Your melody becomes uniquely, powerfully yours because of the flaw you didn't hide, but integrated. What string has snapped for you recently? Don't try to pretend it's still whole. Acknowledge the twang. Then, gently, find the new melody that includes its absence. That new melody is the sound of authentic healing. Hum it to yourself as you fall asleep. In a city of records, where every transaction, every birth, every crime was meticulously archived, there was one clerk who kept a secret, unofficial ledger. He called it the Archive of Whispered Joys. It held no grand events. It recorded the laugh of the baker's daughter, 7:02 a.m. Sunlight through the sycamore leaves, forming a dappled lion on the pavement, Tuesday. The feeling of cool sheets on a tired body, remembered entry. He told no one. It was his private liturgy. When he grew old and was clearing out his desk, the ledger was found. Others read it. At first, they smiled at its simplicity. Then, something happened. People began to notice their own whispered joys. The city's mood, ever so slightly, began to soften. The archive had been a silent teacher, training attention towards the unmonetizable, ungovernable, tiny miracles of being alive. The Buddha exhorted his followers to cultivate Muditā, sympathetic joy, gladness at the happiness of others. But it starts with Upekkhā, heedfulness, careful attention. We archive our pains, our offenses, our worries with meticulous detail. Our inner ledger is heavy with shadows. What if we kept a secret archive, not even written, just noticed, for the whispered joys? The warmth of the mug in your hand. The kindness in a stranger's eyes. The completion of a single, small task. The comfort of your own breath. This practice isn't naive positivity. It is a rebalancing of attention. It is choosing to inscribe the light with the same care we give the dark. It trains the mind to find nourishment in the present, building an inner reservoir of resilience. Before you sleep, open your secret ledger. Inscribe just one whispered joy from today. It can be as small as a pleasant taste, a moment of quiet, a sensation of comfort. File it away in your heart. Let that be the last entry in the day's account. You will sleep richer. A man, parched with spiritual thirst, decided to dig a well. He chose a spot and dug with furious determination. 10 feet, 20, 30. No water. He grew angry, dehydrated, desperate. He blamed the spot. He moved and dug another. And another. All dry. An old woman watching from her porch finally called out, "You dig many holes, but you never stay in one long enough to meet the water table. And you dig with such anger, the water, if it felt you, would retreat." Water is shy. It responds to patient, gentle presence. Exhausted, the man listened. He returned to his first hole. He sat at the bottom, in the cool, dark earth. He stopped digging. He just sat, breathing. He apologized to the earth for his violence. He placed his hands on the soil walls. He waited. Hours passed. Then, a miracle. A faint dampness appeared under his palms. A tiny seep. Then a trickle. He had not struck water by force. He had attracted it by becoming still and receptive enough for it to reveal itself. Our search for peace, for meaning, is often this frantic digging. We try new strategies, new philosophies, new therapies, digging holes of self-improvement. When we don't immediately find the gushing spring of enlightenment, we move on, more frustrated. The Buddha's path is about depth, not breadth. It is about committing to one spot, the spot of your own direct experience, and digging with consistent, patient, gentle awareness. The water table of peace is deep, and it is everywhere. But you must be still enough, sincere enough, and patient enough to let it seep into your awareness. It cannot be grabbed, it can only be received. You have been digging all day. Now, stop. Sit at the bottom of your own being. Be still. Be gentle. Place your awareness on the walls of your soul. Wait. The seep of peace is already there. Feel it. Let it pool in the darkness. It will be enough to sustain you. There is a tale of a seeker who spent years walking from temple to temple, knocking on countless doors, asking, "Is this the door to peace?" He was given keys, maps, mantras, but every door he opened led to another courtyard, another path, another question. Weary beyond measure, he collapsed against a simple, unmarked door in a forgotten alley. He had no strength left to knock. He simply leaned his forehead against the wood and wept. In his utter exhaustion, a realization dawned: he had never tried the door he was already leaning on. All his seeking had been an outward motion. This was the only door he hadn't actively tried to open, the one he was using for support. With the last of his energy, he didn't push. He leaned in. And the door, which had no latch on the outside, swung open effortlessly inward. He stumbled through, not into a new place, but into the familiar, spacious room of his own aware heart. He had been home all along. The journey wasn't about finding the right door. It was about turning around. The Buddha said, "Look within. Be still. Free from fear and attachment, know the sweet joy of the way." The ultimate mental training, the final reset, is this inward turn. Not a striving, but a surrender. Not a knocking, but a leaning. The door has no external latch because you are already inside. You just keep looking out the windows. Tonight, as you cross the threshold of sleep, don't look for another door. Simply lean in. Lean into the soft darkness behind your eyes. Lean into the quiet rhythm of your heart. Lean into the vast, inner room of your being. The door is opening, inward, always inward. Welcome yourself home. The stories end here, but your practice continues in the silent workshop of sleep. You have been given tools: the mirror, the lantern, the net, the loom, the mountain, the bell. Your subconscious now holds their blueprints. In the quiet hours ahead, it will assemble them into a new inner architecture, one of flexibility, clarity, and profound peace. Remember, this is not magic. It is the natural law of the mind. What you consistently place before your awareness, it begins to embody. You have spent tonight placing before it timeless wisdom wrapped in new stories. When you wake, you may not feel dramatically different. That's okay. The dawn does not shout, it simply illuminates what was already there. You may simply find the knots a little looser, the mirror a little clearer, the heart a little lighter. A seed of bamboo flexibility has been planted. A cup has been emptied. A moon reflects on stiller water. This is the gentle, continuous path. Return to Monk's Temple whenever you need to remember, to reset, to return home. For now, let go completely. Surrender to the wisdom of your own depths. The night is your teacher. Silence is your guide. And you are the sleeper, the dreamer, and the awakened one, all at once. Rest now. Heal now. Awaken, in your own time, renewed. Good night.